Hello and welcome to another episode of the OData screencast series. My name is György Balássy and today I'm going to show you how you can add JSONP support to your OData service. Before diving into the technical details, let's just briefly summarize what is JSONP and why is it expected from modern service to support it. A typical lifecycle of a web page starts when the user downloads the page from the server. If the page is Ajax enabled, its JavaScript code starts running in the browser, and eventually it may initiate hidden calls back to the original servers. Because these Ajax callbacks are targeting the same server the user wanted to communicate, it has no problem. Even if the Ajax call is hidden from the user knows that the page in the browser communicates the server he wants to communicate with. However, if the user downloads a page from one server and the page initiating additional hidden Ajax requests to a third-party server, that may arise some privacy issues. So for this reason, this kind of communication is not allowed by the browser. There is a restriction implemented in all modern browsers called the same origin policy that denies this kind of communication. However, there are very good services available in the cloud today, so it would be very useful if we could find some way to work around this problem to circumvent or to have this limitation. Fortunately, there are exceptions from this policy. For example, you can embed an image into your page that is downloaded from another domain. Or what is more suitable for us is that you can download script files from another domain. If you dynamically create a script tag on your page, the browser will immediately download the referenced code from any URL you specify. So if you define an external URL in the source attribute of the script tag, the browser will download the content from that external URL. If the response from that external server returns or contains JavaScript code, it will be interpreted immediately and also will be executed immediately. So that's the key to solution to how to hack the same origin policy. Traditionally, this method was designed to download static code files or even execute code files. However, we can use it to download data and interpret data and use data. If the service the source attribute points to returns a classic JSON object, it is just data. When the browser interprets the response, it will see that a JSON object is returned and it's static data. However, if we can request the server to return something that is not just data but some executable code, the browser will execute it. How we can do it? We can use JSON with padding. JSON with padding means that the client, the JavaScript code on the page, can specify that the returning data should be wrapped into a function call. All the client have to do after this is to implement the function, in this time the myFunc function, and because the browser interprets the response from the server, this function will be executed. So JSON with padding is about specifying a callback function, and the service will wrap the returning data into a function call, and the client and the callback function within the page will be called when the data is returned from the external service. So that is JSON with padding. If you want to create a service that can be called via Ajax from another domain, then you should support JSONP. Unfortunately, WCF Data Services does not support JSONP out of the box at this time. But the good news is that the processing pipeline is extensible. So all you have to do is find an implementation and plug this JSONP implementation into the processing pipeline of the WCF Data Services. Fortunately, The implementation is available at the archive.msdmicrosoft.com/dataservices.jsonp address. Let me show you this page. This is the page, JSONP and URI-controlled format support for ADO.NET Data Services. As the name implies, it adds two features to your data services, JSONP and URI-controlled format support. I will show them in practice in a minute. How you can use it. All you have to do is download the data services JSONP zip file. It's a zip file containing the code you need and the sample service. After extracting the zip file, you will find a C# file called JSONP support behavior. Just copy this file and add it to your solution, and you can use it instantly. Let me just show you what is in this file. There are two classes. One is JSONP support inspector that implements the ISDispatch message inspector interface. This is the interface that adds the extensibility points to the processing pipeline, because there are two methods, after receive requests and before send reply, where you can manipulate the request and the response as they communicate between the client and the server. So this is the real implementation. If you want to understand how it works, just open the code, review it, you will understand that it's absolutely not complicated. The other class in this file, called JSONP support behavior attribute, that is a classic .NET attribute that also implements the iService behavior interface. Because this attribute implements this interface, you can add it to your data service. So this is my data service class, and all I have to do is just adding this new attribute to this data service, and the attribute will take care of extending the pipeline and plugging in the new behavior into the pipeline. So that's all. I save the file, go back to the browser, and open my OData service. So this is the original service. I refresh it. It now supports additional formats and the JSONP. The additional format can be seen if I request something, for example, the products. It is a list. Originally, WCF Data Services supports XML and JSON. The client must send HTTP headers to indicate which type of response it requests. However, after adding this extension to your processing pipeline, the client also have the option to specify that it requests JSON format, and it can specify it via URL. Now there is another token you can use in the URL called $format. If you add $format equals JSON, or the client adds $format equals JSON, the server will return a JSON response. So the client no longer has to manipulate low-level HTTP headers. It just has to add a new URL parameter. As you can see, the return type, the returning data, is just a JSON object. What's more important is that now you can define a $callback parameter, where you can define the name of the callback function you implemented on your page, or the client implemented on his page. After the $callback side, you specify a name, for example, my callback. The returning data will be wrapped into my callback function call. So that's all. Adding a simple file, adding the attribute, and now your service supports JSONP, and the client will have the option to specify the expected return format. Keep in mind that these two parameters must go together. So, for example, if you specify only $callback, it will return an error, because JSONP that is supported by this $callback parameter has no meaning without format equals JSON. Okay, format equals JSON works alone. However, $callback does not work alone. It also requires the format equals JSON parameter. So that's all. Thanks. Hope it will be useful. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.